As the cost for higher education becomes increasingly expensive, it's becoming more challenging to prepare families for how they will pay for it, especially as they struggle to meet their unmet financial need. There are two types of student loans that students and parents typically turn to when helping to pay for college. Federal student loans that have no credit requirements are often the first source. However, these are capped and often fall short of the full cost of attendance. To fill this gap, many turn to private student loans that tend to have higher credit requirements and higher interest rates. The credit requirements on private loans are important because they are used in part to set those interest rates for different cohorts of borrowers. The problem with this is younger students often have little or no credit history in which to apply for student loans. Those who do qualify can be burdened with higher cost of financing, which contributes to their overall debt load. And those who don't qualify are left with unmet need and few options to finance their education. That's where PA Forward comes in. PA Forward borrowers can borrow up to the total cost of attendance while enjoying relatively low interest rates. Additional benefits include no application fees, immediate credit decisions, and flexible repayment options. And with more borrower-friendly terms, more Pennsylvania students will be able to qualify. Since the program won't be available until the 1920 academic year, we don't exactly know where interest rates will fall yet. However, we expect borrowers who take advantage of the PA Forward loan, they should be able to save thousands of dollars due to reduced interest rates over the life of the loan compared to private student loan options or even PLUS loans from the Department of Education. We developed the PA Forward loan program with the guidance of some higher education focus groups to ensure that we are creating a program that would be needed and beneficial to students throughout Pennsylvania. 18 financial aid professionals from throughout the Commonwealth are participating in this group, and PA Forward is much stronger as a result of their participation. We thank this team for their efforts. And with PA Forward, PHEAA is getting back to one of the core reasons we were created in 1963, and that was to make sure that college funding was available and accessible on affordable terms to Pennsylvania students. I should mention that Pennsylvania is not alone in recognizing the need for such a program. Pennsylvania now joins 20 other states, including New Jersey and Massachusetts, in offering a similar private loan program to the residents of their states. And now I'd like to introduce the chairman of PHEAA's Board of Directors, State Representative Mike Peiffer.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. Thank you, Jim, and welcome to everyone. It's great to see you all here. And look, we're excited about this program. I want to give you a little history about myself. I do represent the Pennsylvania House 139th District. So when you think along the Delaware River, maybe the Lake Wallenpaupack region, I live in Pike County, but I represent portions of Pike and Wayne counties both. And I do sit on the PHEAA board. I've been on the board for a number of years, and it is truly a government agency. I think, as Mr. Steele said, in the early 60s, you would go to your senator, and your senator would open up a drawer and write a scholarship out to you. So that was an old way of doing business. This is a better way. Where I live, greater than 50% of the kids get free introduced lunch. So when you're looking at a program such as a need-based program, it directly affects my district as compared to other districts around the state because I have a number of students who use the grants and use the loans to achieve higher education, the ability to attend a school. So when people ask me, about the board and why we do this, it's really about our constituents and providing opportunity. Our board is a government agency. We're kind of we've got a kind of a niche here in that we organized our entity in the early 60s when There are a lot of quality schools, which many of you guys know about because you're from those quality schools, which we brag about. We have quality Pennsylvania institutions, and we have quality students. And because of those two, we married those two together, and we've been successful. And other states kind of look at what we're doing and join board. But over the course of years, we've been able to operate. And it's truly, I want to say it's a very nonpartisan board. And I know it's probably a little different today when you see all the TV commercials, but we do have 4 representatives from each caucus, 4 Republican House members, 4 Senate members, 4 from Republican and Democratic sides. Most of the members are either from the education side or the financial side because that's the way our business operates. So we use the experience and the knowledge that we have in the House to run our board. But this really is a way that we can get back to some of the basic roots in lending. When I see Mr. Burks here from the University of Scranton, it's a great school. I brag about our schools in the Northeast. I want to get every loan. I'll sit in the board meeting. I'm like, why are we not getting that loan? We need, if you're coming out of Misericordia or Kings or Wilkes or University of Scranton, we need that loan. We need that pool to be successful. So again, I know there's a number of you from different areas of the Commonwealth here today, and I thank you for that. The opportunity in the marketplace, we feel, is now. The way the grant works, we work very hard as a member of the General Assembly and a member of the PHEAA board. We work very hard to maintain the maximum grant award. That's kind of a goal. And we've been able to maintain that award with a reduced appropriation, but we've also have a reduced number of students. So as you reduce the number of students, you don't need the appropriation. So at some point, we are working very hard to turn that around. And we know that that is about over a $4,000 number that we can give to students based upon their need in the FAFSA form. And then obviously there's the federal monies that are also there as well. But that's a foundation. And all of you know that that's a foundation. It's an important foundation. The board works very hard to maintain that foundation, and at some point we need to continue to increase it. But then there's a bridge, and our students in my district, I am blessed with high schools that really churn out great kids, students who are just really overachieving. So at that point we need to offer them opportunities, and we think this program, PA Forward, will do that. Again, it's an honor for me to be here. I'm going to be here for a while at the end. If you have any questions for me, please ask me, introduce yourself. But again, we think this is a great opportunity for Pennsylvania institutions as well as students, and I just thank you for being here. Jim?
Thank you, Chairman Peiffer. Now I'd like to introduce Bill Burke, Director of Financial Aid from the University of Scranton. He participated in our focus group and has long been recognized as a leader in the student financial aid community. Bill?
Thank you, Jim. And at the conclusion of the press conference, we'll be auctioning off our Scranton loans, Today, financing higher education is a challenge for many families, and the marshaling of all resources, grants, scholarships, student work programs, and federal student and parent loans make it possible for students from all economic backgrounds to achieve their educational goals. However, sometimes the existing financial aid programs leave students short of meeting all of their educational expenses. At the University of Scranton, last academic year, our students borrowed $12.5 million in private loans, and parents of dependent students borrowed $13.5 million in parent loans to supplement resources available. Last year, approximately 38% of our bachelor graduate degree recipients relied on either private or parent student loans. Now, post-secondary schools are prohibited from recommending specific lenders to students and families, but we are allowed to list lenders that our students and parents have borrowed from, And at the University of Scranton, we exercise the right to actually provide our families with a preferred lender list. Now, the latter requires schools to really collect information from lenders, scrutinize it, measure their customer service abilities and performance. So because of the competitiveness of the PHEAA Forward Loan program for students, parents, and even graduates who wish to consolidate their loans, I suspect we will be able to add the PHEAA Forward loan programs as an option for our families, after the required review, of course. And thus, add the PHEAA Forward loans to our existing preferred lender list to best guide our families on how to finance educational costs. The financial aid community, all of us in front of me here, rely on federal, state, and private organizations to fully resource the financial needs of students and welcome all innovative programs as the PHEAA Forward program. Best wishes.
Thank you, Bill. I would now like to introduce Sean Barbaro, who is a school counselor at Bellefonte Area High School. Sean has advised thousands of college-bound high school students and knows firsthand some of the financial challenges they face. Sean?
Thank you very much. Today is a very exciting day for me. As a counselor now in the Center Region for 15 years, we see every year the need for this growing. And as the representative said, the need is now. The need has been, and I'm glad that today that the need has finally been met. What we see on our end is every spring, you great folks send out your student aid packages, and our families first are exhilarated, and then they are overcome with this feeling of terror about how am I going to meet that need that remains. And as we see every year, that gap begins to widen. And it really is that group of families in the middle. You know, that the families that are getting our Pell and PHEAA grants, their need tends to be a little bit smaller. But that group in the middle are the folks that they're good, hardworking people. They're people from your district. They're people from all of the districts that we serve. And they've been responsible, but they just don't have additional money to set aside for their college education. So there remains this gap that they have to fill. And having a partner like PHEAA is so critically important, because what happens to those parents, and I'm sure that you folks see this after the fact, is they start to scramble to find a way to fill that gap. And there are so many lenders out there, there are so many different products that families really feel that pressure, and they're really not understanding some of the products that they're getting. So to have a partner like PHEAA that is respected in the industry, that we know is going to provide the most competitive product with the soundest terms, it's something that is going to give a lot of relief to the families of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and it's something that we are really looking forward to rolling out to our families. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. Now I'd like to introduce Tom Foley, President of the Association of Independent Colleges and Universities of Pennsylvania, who would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for all the folks who've spoken. Thanks to the guidance counselors who are here. I'm the father of 3 sons. Wouldn't have got where they got without help from people like you. Thanks to the PHEAA folks. I'm also one of 12 children, first generation to college, and the vast majority of them couldn't have gotten there except for PHEAA aid, Pell aid, and programs like that. Let me just make 3 quick comments. One about ACUP. ACUP, that's the acronym for that long phrase that Jim uttered, Association of Independent Colleges and Universities in Pennsylvania. I get to say that really fast. Actually represents 92 private colleges in Pennsylvania who currently have almost 300,000 students. That's 47% of all the students who graduated from college last year. It's 49% of all the students of color. It's 43% of all the students with financial need. 43% of all the low-income students who get PHEAA grants come from those ACUP schools. And they're $18 billion worth of economic impact in our state. So it's a valuable asset that really depends on PHEAA and programs like this. Second comment is about financial aid, student aid in general. At the ACUP schools, 90% of those students get some kind of financial aid. Most of it is from the institution itself, but they can't get through it if they don't have PHEAA aid and if they don't have Pell aid. And that aid, on average, is almost $23,000 a year. Even with that, there is still need for these families. And that's my third and last comment, the impact of a program like this. It will help, as I think Sean just explained. It's certainly going to be of help to low-income students. Little commercial here, I just spent 8 years as the president of a small private college, Mount Aloysius. And I'm glad to say 2 of our folks who run financial aid there and have for 30 years are here, Stacy and Linda. They can tell you 60% of the students at that college are first generation. 50% of those students receive Pell grants and PHEAA grants, and they can't get through without those. And these kinds of loans, in addition to the grants, will be critical for students trying to get that last dollar to make not only a transformation in their own lives, but what we've seen is it changes the trajectory of whole families when you have a first-generation college graduate. So I think it's really important on that side for low-income students, but it's also important for students in that middle income. Who, as Sean just said, work so hard. Bill has so many of those students at the University of Scranton, but there's that little bit of help at the end. And the reason that we think this is a great program is it's going to be run by PHEAA. It's going to be run by an institution that we know well in Pennsylvania, that has an outstanding chairman, but also has a number of board members who are legislators, and it has board members who are appointed by the governor, which means they're responsible to them. And they will be responsible about this program. I think one of the biggest headaches that I know Stacy and Linda have to deal with is the uncertainty for parents. They want their child to go to school. They're nervous about taking a loan from an entity they don't know much about, even when it's a Federal Plus loan, that can get sold, 2 years after they took out the loan, on which the interest rates can change. Not that there won't be some changes under a PHEAA program, but it's a PHEAA program. It is responsive and responsible to the people of Pennsylvania, and that's why we think this is a good idea. So we think this is a forward step for Pennsylvania, and we thank PHEAA and all of our partners for introducing it. Thank you very much.